Today I want to share with you a garden update and a little news from my nest. Hi sweet friends, I'm Mary and welcome to Mary's Nest, where I teach traditional cooking skills for making nutrient-dense foods like bone broth, ferment, sourdough, and more. So if you enjoy learning about those things, consider subscribing to my channel and don't forget to click on the little notification bell below. That'll let you know every time I upload a new video. Well, first I want to do a little introduction to this video. Basically, what I have here is a compilation of video clips that I have filmed over the last few days and have put together here for you. I want to share a little with you about the things that I've been harvesting from my garden, and I also want to share with you a little bit about some news from my nest with a few shout-outs. Well, if you've been following along with my garden tour, you know that I had to recover from all of those storms we had in Texas back in February. But I started my garden anew, and I have a tour for you, both in a video called Garden Tour Number 1 and then Garden Tour Number 2. So if you want to catch up and see the progress that I've been making in my garden, I'll be sure to link to those videos in the iCard and in the description below. Well, my garden is doing fabulous. I have a host of herbs that I'm growing, as well as cherry tomatoes and Italian plum tomatoes, and I've got some wonderful string beans growing thanks to my wonderful friend Rob over at Ession's Family Garden, who was so kind to send me a bunch of seeds. I've also got patty pan squash growing, I've got hot peppers growing, I've got cucumbers growing, beets and radishes, French radishes, which are especially delicious, and all sorts of things. I've also got Swiss chard growing, and it's my favorite type because it's the rainbow Swiss chard that has multiple colored stalks that's just so tasty. And I've also got sorrel growing, which is one of my favorites. It's great for making soup, but it's also wonderful for cutting up and using in salads, or just simply sauteing with a little olive oil and garlic or a little chopped onion. It's wonderful. It's got a great lemony kind of flavor to it, a little tangy. And as I've shared with you in the past, I have what I call the tangy gene. Anything that's tangy, I love. And sorrel definitely fits the bill. Well, today I did my first harvest and I put everything into a basket, which I'll share a lovely picture with you here. And in the basket I was able to, I harvested and was able to put in my basket some sorrel and some Swiss chard, some cucumbers, some patty pan squash, a few string beans, some cherry tomatoes. Everything just looks so wonderful. And I can't wait to start incorporating those things into wonderful, nutritious, and delicious meals for me and my husband. And as we continue to go through the harvest season, I'll be sure to continue to update you on what's growing in my garden and what I'm able to harvest and what I'm able to cook as well as can. And if you want to grow your own herbs from seed or purchase dried herbs for your culinary uses as well as for making home remedies, now is a great time to shop for these things from Mountain Rose Herbs, because I have a 15% off discount code for my viewers through the end of June. And this is not a sponsored post. I just love Mountain Rose Herbs. They provide great quality, and you will be so pleased with anything you purchase from them. Now, coming up in the next segment, I've got some wonderful information to share with you about cookbooks as well as aprons. So now I want to share some news from my nest with you. The first thing I want to share with you that my very sweet friend Michelle, who has the YouTube channel Chocolate Box Cottage that some of you might be familiar with, but you may also know that she took a little break from YouTube. Well, the good news is she's coming back. She is such a sweetheart. Michelle and I have been friends for quite a while now. And we have shared our love. We've chatted on the phone and whatnot, and we've shared our love of vintage cookbooks. And she just sent me the other day this lovely book. and I'm sure many of you are familiar with this, the Settlement Cookbook. And I love how on the top it says, the way to a man's heart. You know, you always hear that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. I'm very old-fashioned and I really like that. But what is so interesting about this book, as Michelle was sharing with me, is that it was compiled by a lovely lady named Mrs. Simon Kander, but it's tested recipes, which I think is cute that they say that. And it's from the Settlement Cooking Classes, the Milwaukee Public School Kitchens, the School of Trades for Girls, and Experienced Housewives. And that's exactly what it was. As Michelle shared with me, this was often used as a textbook for not only students in school learning how to cook, but as well as housewives who may be new, have just like immigrated to the United States, and hence the name Settlement Cookbook, and learning how to cook, in the American way and whatnot. And so it's darling, but they have all kinds of recipes in here. It's just as sweet as can be. And I just have to tell you, Michelle, thank you so much. I know we already corresponded about it, but I just want to say again, thank you very much. This is really going to be such a treasure in my cookbook library. And then I have to share this book with you because I was so thrilled to receive this. My cousins, actually they're my husband's cousins, but I consider them my cousins too. We're all one big happy family who live in Canada, sent me this book for Mother's Day, and it's called The Vatican Cookbook. Isn't this beautiful? And it says, the Pontifical Swiss Guard presents 500 years of classic recipes, papal tributes, and exclusive images of life and art at the Vatican. So some of these recipes are very old-fashioned, very traditional to whatever time period they were taken from. And some just look so fascinating to me. For example, this is, I don't even know how to pronounce it, Kirschmichel, maybe? You'll have to tell me, those of you who may know, be familiar with this recipe, but Kirschmichel? But this was one of Pope Benedict's favorite foods. I think it's so wonderful. So I really look forward to spending more time going through this. So I really have to thank my cousins in Canada. You're always so sweet. You always think of me, and you always make me feel like part of the family, part of your family, and I really appreciate it. And what I want to do is just pop in here for a minute before we move on to those next segments and tell you a little bit about the apron that I'm wearing. Many of you already know Denise from This and That with Denise. She has a wonderful YouTube channel all about traditional homemaking, but she also has an apron line, and her website is called The Apron Diva, and she's got some beautiful aprons on her site. If you watch her videos, you've probably seen some of the aprons that she's wearing, and she's now selling those on her website. And this is one of the aprons that she sells, and she was so kind to send this to me as a gift. And I just love it because it's so Italian, and those of you who've known me for a while know that I'm of Italian descent. It's just wonderful. Tomatoes, garlic, olives, mushrooms, it's perfect. And Denise was so cute because in the card that she sent to me, she said, I knew this apron would be perfect for you. So I'll be sure to put a link to her website in the pinned comment below. But speaking of aprons, I know so many of you have asked me, this is just sort of one of my very plain working aprons, but a lot of the other aprons that I wear in my videos, you all have asked me, where have I purchased those aprons? And some I've just purchased at kitchen stores or on Amazon, but some of the others that are the sort of real frilly, real pioneer lady type looking aprons, are aprons that I purchased from Heidi over at Rain Country Homestead. And those of you who have been with me for a while, you also probably know Heidi. She has a wonderful YouTube channel all about homesteading. But she also has an Etsy shop by the same name, Rain Country Homestead. And she custom makes her aprons. So often, and they usually sell out right away. So if you go over to her Etsy shop, and I'll put a link in the description below, if you head over to her Etsy shop, you may not see any aprons available, but you can just send her a little note and give her some idea of what kind of pattern you're looking for, and she'll send you a picture of what she has, and then she'll custom make the apron for you. She also makes Pioneer Lady skirts and all kinds of things. She's very talented, and so is her husband Patrick. He does a lot of woodworking. They have a lovely Etsy shop, and so you have to take a head over there and take a look. But also, speaking of aprons, if you like those type of aprons that don't have anything that you have to tie and that you just kind of put over your head, I think sometimes people refer to them as like lunch lady aprons. I'm not exactly sure, but you just put it over your head and then there are kind of big pockets on the bottom. Well, Katie over at Heritage Ways, also another YouTube channel, kind of homesteading and homeschooling. She covers a lot of things. She's such a lovely person, and she's been a wonderful friend to me, as has Heidi. They've just both been wonderful friends as we've all been on this YouTube journey together. But Katie also has a website by the same name, Heritage Ways, and a lovely website. But she also custom makes aprons, and it's these type that you kind of just drop over your head. And you can also, I'll put a link to her website. You can learn more about the aprons that she sells if you like that type. I think it's very nice because it's very easy to just go ahead and kind of drop it right on top, and you don't have to worry about tying anything. And it almost looks like a little bit of a frock. And Katie talks about how you can wear that over your clothes even when you're out and about, and people don't necessarily think that you have an apron on. It's more just, like I said, like a little frock on top of whatever else you're wearing. So you have three lovely choices. And then finally, I need to tell you all, because I have received so many questions about this in comments and in emails and all kinds of things. And I think it's because we talk a lot here about traditional foods and eating traditional foods. And a lot of you are on this journey from a processed foods kitchen to a traditional foods kitchen because you want to try to heal your body from some particular problem. And the question that I get the most is how to help with acid reflux, sometimes called GERD. Some of you have talked about having other stomach upset problems. And so amongst all of us, we've discussed, the healing benefits of taking high gelatin foods like bone broth that can really help coat the stomach and so on and so forth. But I have been referring many of you to a video by my friend Jackie, who has the channel Little Country Cabin. And she shows how to identify the herb plantain. Well, I got to tell you, you don't even have to worry about growing this. Once you know what it looks like, you're going to see it everywhere. You're going to see it in your garden, in your yard, wherever you live, between the cracks in the sidewalk. Plantain seems pretty invasive, but she has a wonderful video about making a tea from plantain and how this saved her from horrific acid reflux. And she tells her whole story in the video, and she shows you how to identify the plantain and how to make this tea. So for those of you who have been writing to me, definitely check out Jackie's, and I'll put a link in the pinned comment. Yeah, just the first comment. I'll make the first comment underneath this video, and I'll pin it, and I'll put links to all the various channels that I've mentioned. And the other video that she has that I want to share with all of you is that you've been asking me, do I have a video on how to make ghee? And I actually don't. That's something that I should make a video about. But good news, Jackie over at Little Country Cabin has a wonderful video on how to make ghee. And she actually has her own cow. Her and her husband and their family, her sons, have a farm. And she has a cow. I think the cow's name is Lily, very sweet. And she shows you how to even milk the cow if that's something you'd like to learn. But she skims the cream off the top of her milk, and makes the homemade butter and then makes the ghee, and she shows you all the steps on how to do this. So definitely check that out as well. Well, I hope you enjoyed my garden update and a little news from my nest. And if you'd like to hear more about my garden and a little more news from my nest, be sure to click on this video over here. And I'll see you over there in my Texas Hill Country kitchen. Love and God bless.